today we're taking a look inside the private world of someone known for being just completely unstoppable, John Cena.
Mm-hmm.
But we're not really talking about the catchphrases or the movies today. We're going much deeper into a moment of, well, profound personal crisis.
That's right. We're working from a really fascinating source today, Cena's Midnight Prayer, Faith, Doubt, and Strength. And it reveals this surprisingly vulnerable side to a man who really defines himself by sheer willpower.
Yeah, and our mission here is to unpack where his strength actually came from when he was hit by these two just crushing pressures at once.
Right.
We want to understand how those deep foundational beliefs, the stuff maybe you don't think about every day, how they surge up when that sort of modern self-made strength starts to crack.
And the contrast is just stark, isn't it? We go from the roar of, tens of thousands of fans to the absolute silence of his deepest, most personal fears.
Okay, let's unpack this then. So the source puts us right after a really grueling Hollywood shoot. High pressure, intense.
Mm-hmm.
But it wasn't just the physical exhaustion, apparently. The emotional load was heavier. He was dealing with two huge things. Serious doubts about his career, where he was going.
Which is massive for someone whose brand is hustle.
Exactly. And that was compounded by this immediate, really urgent fear around a family health scare that had just come up.
Yeah.
This is the moment where that public armor, it starts to show cracks.
And it's crucial to see the weight of both of those things together.
Yeah.
You've got the professional self-doubt, like you said, losing direction, threatening the hustle brand itself.
Yeah.
And then this fundamental threat to his family, something completely out of his control, physically anyway.
Right.
And these two forces together, well, they basically forced a retreat.
And where does a guy famous for filling stadiums retreat to? Not some, fancy hideaway.
Well,
He goes to an empty gym. The source describes him just lifting weights under dim lights, almost no light at all. It's this solitary, almost penitent kind of scene.
and that setting tells you so much psychologically. I mean, for a man whose whole self-worth is so tied to his physical power, his ability to dominate,
Right.
the ritual of lifting weights, it becomes this psychological displacement. He's literally battling the iron to process the emotional stuff.
The stuff he can't lift.
Exactly. The family crisis, the career uncertainty. It's him trying to regain control in the one place he's always been the master.
But even that, the physical effort, the source, suggests it wasn't quite enough to handle the anxiety this time.
No.
Which raises that question. What does an icon like him, built on self-reliance, on never give up, what does he do when life throws problems at him that sheer effort just can't fix?
Well, that's when you often see people reach for something older,
Yeah.
an anchor that predates the hustle. They tend to revert back to the absolute foundations of their upbringing.
And that anchor, it shows up not as some new philosophy, but as this small physical thing from his past.
Yep.
The source points out while he's there, grinding out reps in the dim light, he starts thinking about his Catholic upbringing.
Right.
And he's described as clutching something specific in his fist. Rosary beads from his mother.
That detail, the beads, it's incredibly powerful, especially when you think about his public persona. I mean, think about that tension. You have this hypermasculine, dominant public figure.
Yeah.
Suddenly reduced to this private man seeking comfort, clutching a symbol that's usually linked with, well, humility, quiet devotion, maybe even submission to a higher power. He's tapping into his spiritual DNA there.
Exactly. The beads aren't just religious. They're like this physical link back to his family history, to the certainty maybe he felt as a kid, a certainty that maybe his adult life, the fame, the doubts had kind of worn away. He needed a power source that wasn't tied to box office numbers or physical strength.
And if we connect this to the bigger picture, like you were saying, it shows why those foundational beliefs are often so resilient. In a crisis, the mind often kind of discards the new uncertainties. It looks for comfort, predictability, the stuff that's deeply etched in, like rituals and values.
So he's literally holding on to the strength of his mother, his faith tradition.
Yeah, using it to stand against that professional vulnerability and the personal fear he was facing.
He's trying to reconnect with a sense of purpose that exists outside the wrestling ring, basically.
Precisely. For that moment, his strength isn't really coming from the weights he's lifting.
Right.
It's coming from the spiritual legacy he's physically holding on to.
So this mix of intense isolation, the emotional strain, and focusing on this one symbolic object, it all builds up to the real turning point in the source material. Here's where it gets really interesting. The narrative describes this incredibly vivid experience he had, like a vision or maybe a dream. He saw Christ walking the wrestling ring with him.
Wow, that image. That's the synthesis of his whole internal struggle right there.
Yeah.
It's the ultimate aha moment for anyone reading this, because it instantly flips that feeling of total isolation and doubt into this powerful sense of purpose. Empowerment, really.
Let's break down that symbolism, though, because it's not like a quiet, typical religious vision of retreating from the world.
No, not at all.
This spiritual figure meets him right there in his professional arena, the wrestling ring. He wasn't told to leave it all behind.
And that's profound symbolism. It's validating his career, isn't it? It's this spiritual figure meeting him right in the middle of his hustle.
Right.
Essentially blessing his path, integrating his faith with his work. He realized he didn't have to keep them separate. His life's work, the ring itself, it became, in a way, sacred ground. It confirmed that his spiritual foundation could actually coexist with and even guide his public purpose. It completely redefined his mission.
So it sounds like that vision kind of resolved the identity crisis that the career doubts had kicked off.
I think so.
He didn't have to wonder anymore if the hustle was just empty performance, because now it was infused with this divine connection for him.
And that transformation, that feeling of connection, it gave him the certainty he needed to move forward again. He wasn't battling those pressures alone anymore. He'd integrated this constant, unwavering presence into how he saw himself.
And thankfully, the story doesn't just end with that private moment. The source shows the immediate, actionable result of it all.
Yeah, it proves it wasn't just a fleeting feeling.
He took that newfound energy, that spiritual insight, and immediately put it into action for public benefit.
Yes, the source says he organized a surprise charity event almost right away.
Not some big pre-planned thing.
No, exactly.
Yeah.
It was described as intimate, a surprise mentorship session, and specifically for at-risk youth.
Right.
The audience matters there. He was now sort of positioned to pass on strength to others who felt vulnerable, maybe isolated themselves.
And the message he gave them, it shows just how perfectly he blended that deep private realization with his public brand. We all know his mantra, hustle, loyalty, respect, HLR. But the specific message he shared with those kids was about achieving success through hustle, through faith.
And what's fascinating there is how it evolves the HLR brand, makes it more sophisticated.
Oh, so?
Well, he's teaching them that the hustle, the hard work, the grind, it needs to be powered by something more than just ego or ambition. It needs faith.
Okay.
Which means the loyalty part shifts. It's not just loyalty to a contract or a team, maybe, but loyalty to your own core beliefs.
Ah, right.
And respect then becomes self-respect. It comes from knowing your purpose is guided by something bigger than yourself.
So he's giving them a kind of blueprint. The physical effort, the hustle, that's one side. But the other side is the spiritual foundation, the faith.
Yes.
That stops the hustle from just becoming burnout or meaninglessness.
Exactly right. That realization he had in the empty gym that self-reliance alone wasn't cutting it, he translated immediately into mentorship.
Yeah.
He showed those kids that real strength isn't just physical. It's integrating the hustle with the spiritual foundation. It made his whole public persona deeper, much more grounded.
It's a powerful loop, isn't it? A private prayer leading directly to public good almost instantly. And the source wraps up this whole part of the narrative by tying his famous catchphrase, which can sometimes seem a bit cheeky.
Yeah, you can't see me.
Right. Tying that directly to his new spiritual understanding.
It does. The source notes he ended that charity event by whispering the closing quote, almost like a private thought shared out loud. You can't see me, but he always can.
Wow.
It's this acknowledgement that his whole gimmick, being invisible to the opponent, the surprise attack,
Yeah.
it's kind of irrelevant on a deeper level.
Because the guiding presence is constant, all-seeing.
Exactly. It beautifully ties that spiritual anchor right back into his professional identity.
Okay, so if we connect this to the bigger picture, what's the ultimate takeaway here?
I think it's really about vulnerability. It suggests that true lasting strength, especially for a public figure, sometimes comes not from just keeping up that invincible facade, but from actually acknowledging the private battle, the fear, the doubt, and then integrating that vulnerability into their public identity in a real, meaningful way.
Right.
This deep dive really shows us that even people who seem completely invincible, known for sheer power, they ultimately lean on their deepest, most foundational beliefs when they face those big career doubts or intense personal crises.
And that makes him, well, infinitely more human, doesn't it? More relatable to all of us who struggle with similar things sometimes.
Absolutely.
So the challenge this story kind of leaves for you, the listener, is this. Cena had this profound personal moment, that vision in the gym.
Right.
And he didn't just sit with it. He immediately translated it into action, public benefit, mentoring others with his new hustle through faith idea. He didn't just feel better. He immediately did better. It's about application.
Exactly. So that leaves us with this thought to mull over. What is that specific foundational belief for you? That quiet, maybe deep anchor that really guides your own hustle, whatever that looks like. And maybe more importantly, what concrete steps are you taking or could you take to translate that private strength into some kind of public benefit or mentorship for others?
That's an excellent challenge, thinking about how we actually apply our own foundational knowledge in the world.
Definitely something to think about.
Yeah.
That's it for this deep dive. We'll talk to you next time.